So welcome everyone to this webinar session where we're gonna discuss about, for us at least, and I think out there it's starting to get very hot also, and we're gonna take you through to start your PAM journey, privileged access management. We will discuss more there in deep with my dear friend, colleague, all the way from a sunny, beautiful Chennai. Ganesh, welcome. Hi, or what you could say.
Thank you, and thanks for the welcome. Good morning to all of you guys.
Cool. He will introduce himself. I will not take your time. I just wanted to say that this webinar will be recorded. So just after the session, you will get the recording sent to you. If you would like to send it through the organization, please do that. If you feel like there was something missed out or anything, you can always rewind and watch it over again, and all of these kind of things. We also try to be a little bit more interactive, so if you have questions, somewhere in your screen you should find a, let's call it a question box or something like that, where you can ask questions during the presentation. And we will have like maybe 10 minutes Q&A session in the end of the session. So please ask questions, give us some feedback so we can be more interactive. And afterwards, please take some small time if you want to write any comments, if you would like to see anything more special. It's always good to get some feedback. I know it's hard to do, but please try to do that. Okay, that's enough for me. Ganesh, you are the expert. Just give you a small introduction and we are heading out for the PAM journey.
Sure. So my name is Ganesh, and I've been with ManageEngine for the last 15 years. I lead the support and pre-sales team for a PAM suite of products. So I have my screen shared, and you all should be able to see a screen that says Start Your PAM Journey. So in today's session, we're going to take a look at what's privileged access management and what's the difference between account management and access management, and the risks of having unmanaged privileged accounts, and what are the potential implications of it, and how can you be prepared for tackling audits and compliance requirements, and how Innovate and ManageEngine can help you guys in starting your PAM journey. So that's going to be our agenda for today. So to begin with, we need to have a clear difference between what's an account management and an access management system. So account management is something that small to medium-sized businesses essentially start looking at. The common traits of an account management solution is the ability to discover devices, accounts, ability to rotate passwords, and enforce password policies, and so on. Whereas access management solutions are much more. So it goes beyond dealing with account management. Access management solutions predominantly have role-based access control. You can use complex workflows to determine like which users can access which credentials at what time. You can also hide credentials and allow people to remotely access your critical infrastructure, have some session recording and auditing capabilities, and also have advanced integrations. There are applications that might need credentials, so it's not always just your internal and external users. Enterprises would have non-human entities requiring credentials to perform day-to-day operations. So all these are typically part of a PAM solution. And this is the set of modules that you would typically find in a PAM solution. It starts with account discovery. It has shared account password management. There's session management, and there's also session recording and monitoring capabilities. So these are the typical modules that you would find in a PAM solution. And this is just a quick snapshot of all the data breaches that have happened in the recent years. So you can see different type of data breaches. And I'm sure some of you would have heard about the Okta breach that happened just yesterday. And I'm sure blue teams all over the world are having sleepless nights because of it. So 70% of such data breaches happen through privilege abuse. So privilege abuse is basically where any account, unmanaged account, gets compromised. There are different ways of attaining privilege abuse, like the most common ones are phishing, social engineering, insider threats, malware, and sometimes it could be remote access attacks. And from what I'm hearing, yesterday's Okta compromise is basically through social engineering. Okta as a company has outsourced their support operations to an offshore company. One of the support representatives working for that company had their laptop compromised. And with that access, the hacker team was able to gain access to internal infrastructure and internal tools used by Okta. So it's just a quick example of how privilege abuse can cause a lot of problems for your enterprises. The biggest challenges with such unmanaged accounts are that there's no monitoring, there's no periodic review of how many accounts are there and what kind of privileges are tied to each account. And in most cases, these accesses are permanent. So when you delegate access to an application or to a user, it stays forever unless you remember to go back and remove the access or demote that user. And there's also a challenge of lateral movement. Like in this example of Okta that happened yesterday, or that got exposed yesterday. So the hacker team was able to gain access to a support engineer's laptop. And because they were able to gain access to the laptop, they were able to laterally move inside the infrastructure and gain access to other applications that the team uses, like Slack or Jira or Salesforce and hundreds of other applications that are being used by that particular company. So, for example, you have somebody marked as a domain admin, and if their account gets compromised, it means your entire domain is compromised, right? So that sort of lateral movement can easily happen when you have excess privileges given to privileged accounts. And then there's always malicious insiders or disgruntled ex-employees who generally had access to the systems, but when they leave the organizations, there's generally not a process to look at all the places in which the users had access and they were able to utilize it. Eric, I think there's some echo from your side. Can you please mute your speakers? Thank you. And then there's audits and compliance requirements that are frequently brought up in enterprise topics. There's PCI, there's ISO, IEC, there's NERC, and there's privacy laws like GDPR, and you also have CIS benchmarks that that a lot of enterprises are looking to attain to go through these audits and compliance standards. And so each of these compliance standards have a set of criteria. In PCI case, you have different sections of requirements that you need to meet. You need to furnish and establish evidences in order to be able to comply with PCI DSS standards. And similarly for ISO, they have a series of control sets, and the control sets are basically a list of checklists focusing on various areas of your IT. Like there's identity and access management, and inside that you have privilege access management, and inside that you have account management and session management. So these criteria are very focused on each of these areas, and they expect your enterprise to be able to comply with those criteria to meet the requirements and standards. And GDPR is, you guys probably are much aware about it. Any PI data stored anywhere in any of the application, the users should have the ability to request those data to be purged or anonymized upon request. So you also have to have track of what applications you have and what type of PI data is present in all of those applications. I mean, it could be something as simple as first name, last name, or email address that is like automatically getting synchronized in some CRM or SAP type solution. But I mean, it's very easy for us to miss those areas where something is automatically synchronizing. But when it comes to GDPR laws and privacy rules, you have to make sure those are accounted for. You have to have an option to be able to anonymize those data upon request. And then you have CIS benchmarks. So CIS benchmarks also helps enterprises in bolstering their IT security and cyber protect against cyber threats. So they also have benchmarks based on what type of applications you're using, and your enterprise needs to put in efforts to make sure you're able to reach those benchmarks. So in terms of audits and compliance requirements, you will definitely need a PAM solution that helps you in attaining these compliance standards, and also help you with the required reports and evidence to show that you are actually handling least privilege model, you are having a proper zero trust principle in place and all of it. And if you are thinking about whether or not you need a PAM solution, these are the list of questions that you should actually look at. And if your answer is yes for any of these questions, then it means that you are actually in a place where you need to start looking at a PAM solution. So the first question is like, do you know how many privileged accounts do you have in your infrastructure? I'm sure you will have a lot of Windows machines, Linux machines, network devices, or even databases and applications. And do you know how many accounts are there in all of these places? It's going to be a common question that auditors would ask you. And we're not talking about personal accounts like your own domain account or your email account, but we're talking about super accounts that are by default bundled with your devices, endpoints, and applications. Like if you take a Linux machine, it's going to have a root account. If you have a MS SQL database, it's going to have an SA account. I mean, in most cases, you can't get rid of them. At best, you could probably disable them, but that still doesn't satisfy the requirements being put in place, which is to actually rotate the passwords of these highly privileged accounts periodically, and also keep track of access granted for these accounts. So that's the first question. And if your answer is yes, then you definitely need a PAM solution. And there are enterprises moving away from passwords. A lot of Linux shops are looking at SSH keys, and you have TLS certificates everywhere these days for applications to authenticate, even the internal employees, for them to be able to open the doors and access their laptops. It's quite common these days to use smart card or PKI-based authentication. So are you rotating these keys, and are you shuffling these certificates? It's not just the external certificates that you purchase from external CA, but also internal certificates that are used on various locations. So if you are not, or if you don't have a way to do it as of today, then you need a PAM solution. And then how do you give access to your internal users? On a normal day, people will need access to so many areas inside your infrastructure in order to perform their day-to-day operations. A DBA would need access to database. A network engineer will need access to firewall. So do you have a mechanism in place where people are able to request, get an approval, and then gain privilege access? Because that's the right way to go about, where there's 4I principle, where no one can just gain access to a critical infrastructure using a privileged account. So it needs to go through proper channels, proper approvals should be there in place. Now, if you don't have that now, you need a PAM solution. And it also expands to external contractors and vendors who are not part of your organization, and sometimes they will need access to a couple of servers. Maybe they are helping you in deploying a software, or they are helping you in doing some audits or investigation. How do you give them access? It would be an overkill to create domain accounts for them because they don't belong to your company. And it would also not be practical for you to ship them a laptop or a hardware equipment, especially if you are dealing with contractors across different geographical locations. So you need a system in place that can actually allow external vendors and contractors to be able to put in a request, get an approval, and then gain access to your internal infrastructure. And you need a system that records everything they do. Because in future, if something were to happen, you should be able to track back, find out what happened during a particular privilege session. So that's another reason why you need a PAM solution. And then it's quite common for enterprises to have credentials and secrets hard-coded in places. Take a simple PowerShell script or a FTP script. The job of the script is to basically transfer files back and forth, maybe. But in order for it to transfer files, it needs credentials. You probably already have credentials hard-coded in it. Or you're probably using CI/CD pipelines or automation scripts, or you have some config files or connectors. So there's a lot of places where you might have secrets hard-coded. Now, the challenge is anyone with read access could open these files and look at the password in clear text. And also, if you were to change this password in your Active Directory, for example, or in your database, for example, you have to remember to update that password in all of your hard-coded files and script files. So you need a mechanism where first, these hard-coded credentials are eliminated. And second, you need a secure way of delivering credentials to all of these applications and scripts and databases so that they smoothly work on the long run. And then CI/CD pipelines or RPA tools are quite common these days. We see a lot of enterprises using Ansible or Chef or Puppet. Those automation scripts also will need secrets from time to time, and you need a mechanism to deliver such secrets. And the last question, is your enterprise looking to undergo any form of audits, be it PCI or ISO, or even an internal audit that looks at your current IT security processes, and that's going to see how your resiliency is for DR scenarios and whatnot? And if the answer is yes, you'll probably need a PAM solution to tackle that internal or external audit. And now this is a checklist for you to prepare your enterprise against any type of an external threat, like an external attack or a cybersecurity challenge. First point, eliminate unwanted accounts. It's quite common for your internal users to create local accounts in so many places that you are not aware of. Like, for example, you have a database engineer named Ganesh working for your company. While working, Ganesh created a lot of local accounts named Ganesh in databases, in firewalls, in switches. And then Ganesh left the organization. He's working elsewhere. Now, how would you even know there's an account called Ganesh sitting in your database or in your firewall or in some switch or a router? I mean, if it is Active Directory, it's a common repository. You have a single place where you can easily see, oh, there's an account called Ganesh. But what if it's somewhere else? Your typical SIM solutions would not help because these accounts were created years ago. It's not something that was created today. So your current event logs won't help. So you need to have a PAM solution that can do a discovery. It can do a scan, find these unwanted accounts, and help you in taking actions against it. And the next point is to remove domain admin rights. If you have 5 members being part of a domain admin group, you're 99% in a bigger attack surface. You have a bigger attack surface just by having 5 members being part of a domain admin group. And also local admin groups, because if someone can gain access to one machine as a local admin, there's a challenge of lateral access from there to connect to a remote server or a remote shared drive and so on. So you need to remove the number of accounts being part of local admin and domain admin groups and figure out a better way to give out domain admin permissions and local admin rights. There are capabilities like just-in-time elevation or self-service privilege elevation that could help you with these problems. And you need to rotate your passwords, keys, and certificates periodically. There's no question about it. Maybe the time varies from region to region, from department to department, from device to device. But the bottom line is you're going to have to rotate these secrets every 30 days or 45 days. And you need a system that can do it automatically, because it's not going to be easy for you to manually do all of the password rotations by hand or even using trivial scripts. You need a proper system in place to handle it. And then implement network segregation. Like, I have my company owned laptop that has been provided to me. I work from random places, sometimes from coffee shops, sometimes I connect to public Wi-Fi. What if my laptop is compromised by a malware or a phishing attack? I ended up accidentally clicking a link or an attachment, and now I have a malware in my laptop. How does my company secure their internal infrastructure from my laptop? Because I come to office every day, I connect to the corporate Wi-Fi. So the way you handle this problem is to segregate your internal infrastructure from your corporate user infrastructure. But then the question is, how do you give access to these users who really need to connect to Active Directory or to DNS servers? So you need a proxy system in place, and PAM solutions also generally work as a gateway or a proxy that allows these end users to be able to connect to critical infrastructure without compromising security. So my laptop doesn't have access to any of our corporate devices, but I do have a PAM access. So when I log into PAM, from PAM, I am able to connect to authorized devices and do my day-to-day operations without any disruption. So it's kind of a solution where you also have convenience and also security, so that you can make sure such user laptops or mobile devices doesn't create any impact to your critical zones or demilitarized zones. And then enforcing workflows for approvals. You know that somebody is going to need access on a Saturday. Now, you will not be present on Saturday to manually do an approval. So you need to be able to set up pre-approvals and make sure that on a Saturday when a user needs access, they are able to get that approval and do their job. And you have full records and audits to know what happened on Saturday. And that's the last point, where the auditing of just who accessed which machine is not enough these days. So it has gone past those stage now. You need to have full record of everything the users did in your critical infrastructure. If somebody were to log into the firewall, just having a record saying this time this user logged into the firewall is not enough. You need to have what commands did they run, what output they received, what changes did they do. That kind of session monitoring and session recording will be required for you to reduce the attack surface. That will make sure your internal infrastructure and your network is safeguarded against both internal and external threats. So that being said, how can Manage Engine help you? We have 4-point products focusing on various areas of IT security based on your enterprise size and based on your maturity level for PAM needs. You could pick one of these products. So Password Manager is our account management solution. Key Manager is our key management solution. Access Manager is our session management solution. Or if you are looking for all of these components and all of those checklist items that we talk about, you could pick PAM 360, which is our unified suite that will help you in all of these problems and challenges that we saw so far in this session. It's a secured and enterprise-ready solution. It works out of the box. You could just download it and deploy it in one of your virtual machines. It's an on-premise software by design, so you will make sure that like all the data will reside within your own infrastructure. It leverages AES 256-bit encryption. All the users will be enforced with MFA. You can even run it on a FIPS compliant mode. It's also highly available and disaster recovery ready. You can have multiple apps working in a load balanced design, so you will never be out of PAM access. There's also break glass procedures and mobile apps and browser extensions for convenience, so people will be able to request access and admins will be able to approve access on the go without having to have the laptop open or connecting to some web application. So it's pretty easy. And in terms of delivery, we have it as an on-premise software that you could download and deploy it in your virtual machines, or you can even deploy it in a cloud server if you prefer. like Azure or AWS, we have it as an image pre-built in the marketplaces. So you could fire a VM, and the product comes bundled with all the components required for it to function, like the database, the web server. So you don't need any other prerequisite other than just having a virtual machine. And the editions and licensing is also very straightforward. The product is priced based on the number of administrative users you have. The end users who will be utilizing this tool in your company, it can be practically unlimited. The number of devices and endpoints and accounts you're going to manage will also be practically unlimited. We don't consider them for part of licensing. There's also both annual subscription and perpetual models, and it supports both single enterprises, or if you require multi-tenancy because you have multiple sites or multiple offices or multiple networks, you could have PAM deployed in a multi-tenant environment as well. So that's basically what is PAM, or privileged access management, is all about. And I hope this session has been of some help in starting your PAM journey. Now, if you guys have any questions, you can always type the questions in chat, and we'll be happy to answer those questions for you.
Amazing. We'll see. We got some questions coming in now. Ganesh, I have a question. I mean, you're traveling around implementing PAM solution and been doing that for the past, let's say, 15 years. Would you say do everybody need a PAM solution, or is just PAM solution for larger enterprises, or have it come to that point that this is important for basically all companies? Let's say all. It doesn't mean one-man company, but you know.
Yeah, so every enterprise, be it small and medium businesses or large-scale enterprises, are going to need PAM solution at some point. It doesn't have to be immediately now. Considering the number of users you have, number of endpoints you have, you will definitely need an account management solution immediately. There is no workaround. There is no way around it. You have to pick a account management solution and slowly mature to a PAM. But it's only a matter of time before you need a full-on PAM solution. But today, you definitely need at least an account management solution, and which is why we have these point products, helping the enterprises pick like an account management product, use it for maybe a year, and once they realize that they have reached the maturity level where they need advanced integrations and contextual integrations, they can seamlessly migrate to our PAM solution.
Yeah, that's what we also feel like here at Inuit. We've been doing this for a long time, but it feels like the time is starting to catch up. Yep. You need to start this journey, either you like it or not. So let's say I'm starting here now. I'm gonna go out there. I wanna, you know, where would you say be the first thing before, like, let's say I'm gonna do this journey, and I start up by doing a case study on myself. The first thing what I feel like is to start looking at all the accounts I have. Is what you also say that's the start to begin?
Correct.
Try to find all the accounts.
That is correct. You have to know how many such accounts are there in your infrastructure, and from there your journey will start. And we saw the checklist items, right? So what are the checklist items that you need to look at, not just from a PAM perspective, but from a cybersecurity perspective? If you want your infrastructure to be safe and protected against both internal and external threats, the first step for that is to know how many privileged accounts you have in your infrastructure.
And I mean, now we're moving to cloud. Do you think this will be more important even for the cloud, or?
Yeah, the principles remain the same, whether it's on-prem account credentials and secrets or cloud accounts like AWS IAM or Azure, Rackspace or Salesforce. Even for those SaaS-based solutions, you still need to be able to rotate secrets. If it is a shared account or a highly privileged account, like a super account, that needs to be rotated. So this is applicable for both on-premise and SaaS-based applications and secrets.
I got a question here when it comes to this. Like, we are running different environments in our company: Google, Azure, Azure AD, local Active Directory. Can we manage all with this one solution?
Yes. So this single solution can actually help you in changing the passwords of all of those endpoints that you just mentioned, be it your internal Active Directory or member servers or workstations, Linux machines and cloud applications and infrastructures like Google, Azure. All those passwords can be rotated from a single repository. And that's the purpose of having a PAM solution, to consolidate them all and administer and manage them from a single place.
Yeah, we always hear this, the PAM, the key to the kingdom.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah. That you hold the key to the kingdom right there with the PAM solution. But I mean, that's correct. Yep. You can spend a lot of time. It feels like we've spent a lot of time to buy like a great firewall, and we spent some time here, but we kind of over the years forgot a little bit about this account management.
Yeah.
But I think it's time to start. You got another question: does the password store temper in a PAM solution? What if PAM solution is breached? Recently, Okta is breached, so any solution can be breached. That is true, but
no. So the point is, well, you are right, anything can be breached, but if you look at how any breach happens, it starts with the weakest link. And in most cases, the weakest link or us, we as users, have done something that had caused this breach to happen. But otherwise, if you look at a PAM solution, just like how you look at your laptop or a machine, the machine never goes wrong. Right? So long as you have it configured properly, it never goes wrong. So for instance, if you take our PAM solution, we have leveraged dual layers of AES 256-bit encryption. So let's say somebody were to break into your server, and then they were able to break into the database. They still won't be able to recover any of the content because they're all encrypted twice at 2 layers. And there's going to be unique key, 2 layers of key, and one of the key will be given to you. You basically don't store the key anywhere. You store it in like a USB drive, and you plug the key, start the service, and then unplug it. So in such designs, I mean, I can confidently say that it's fail-safe. It can't be breached because from a design perspective, you have implemented dual layers of encryption, and you have taken away the key. Well, the downside for it is, like, if you lost this key, you lost all of your data. We can't help you with that. So you have to make sure your key is safely stored somewhere. But what we help you in is, instead of having 1,000 keys and not being able to control them, we combine them into a PAM solution, make it encrypted so that it's always secured and centrally stored. Now you only have to deal with one master key. And you have it maybe like in a physical safe or in a USB, or even have a hard print out of the key and lock it down. So that way you can protect yourself against breaches. And from a resilience perspective, PAM comes with high availability feature, application scaling feature. So if one goes down, you have many more copies of PAM apps working and in a load balanced fashion. So even from a DR perspective, it's highly unlikely that you will be out of PAM access. I mean, in our 15 years experience, we have never had an incident where any of our customers were like out of PAM and not being able to get to their passwords at any time, because we have those break glass capabilities as well.
Yeah, I mean, PAM is also like a security layer. Everything is it's one more layer, you know. Yeah, so it is true, everything can be breached, sure, but I think it's better to have one than not. The attack surface is so much bigger if you don't collect, like it's
correct.
Yeah. What would be?
Yeah, having a PAM allows you to focus on it. So instead of having multiple locations to focus, now you know that everything is there in PAM and it's using these encryptions and technologies. You will have ultimate focus in your PAM solution. You will have alerts, you'll have notifications, you will have MFA. So yes, if PAM is compromised, all secrets are compromised, but that's where it's powerful. You make sure that this PAM can never be compromised. You deploy it in a demilitarized zone. So all of your security attention gets focused into this one point in making sure it's always fail safe. And that's why it's much better than not having a PAM solution and having people store credentials in their own laptops or spreadsheets. Worst case is sharing it through instant messages. So those sort of things should be avoided. Like it's more of a best practice and also a fail-safe mechanism to deal with all things secrets.
Yeah, I mean, a PAM solution, it also comes with a process behind.
Right.
So you have a tool, but you also need a process. We help you a bit with a workflow, but there's also, you need to have some type of like a process. You need a new way of thinking. Like, should everyone have access to everything? I mean, it's convenient, sure, but is it a secure way to go? I've got a more strict question. Can you secure the application using some IP range restriction or conditional access?
Definitely. If you deploy the solution.
Yeah, it's two questions in one. And also, I have a SIM solution. Can I forward the logs to my standard SIM solution?
Yep, the answer is yes for both. The PAM can be controlled, like there is IP restrictions capability where you decide from which IP address the solution can be accessed. And all the operations that happens in PAM can also be like the raw audits can be forwarded to your own SIM solution. So be it Splunk or ArcSight or any SIM tool that you're using, you will have a copy of all the raw audits of PAM stored in your own SIM. So you can further process it and get alerts, notifications, and so on.
But there's going to be headaches when you are moving into a PAM solution when you do this journey, of course, and you have to start somewhere. Now we're talking about the whole picture, of course, or, you know, in an umbrella overview, but it's going to be a journey to take. You need to start somewhere. The design of our application is try to make it as easy as possible. He was trying to explain this in the beginning, like, we have done this for many years. This is a 15 years journey. So it started with a simple password management solution, like there's a lot of competition for that area, but slowly moving in, learning, listen to customer facing issues. And over the years, we have been able to now build a solid PAM solution with the help, of course, of customers over the years. We have great experience. Been there for a long time. Even this is kind of a new area, but we've been there for a long time, since the beginning, I think. So we have a lot of experience. I think we're gonna wrap it up here, guys. Thank you so much for you all taking your time off. I know we are so happy that many people could do that. Please go to manageengine.com or inuit.sc to find some more information. We're probably gonna do some more webinar. I hope this was you got all your questions answered. I hope it was a good journey, and I'm really appreciating you to taking your time off. Please leave some comments afterwards. If you want to hear something more specific, if it is about the PAM and CIS compliance or ISO, or we could have a small session for that, maybe a 20 minutes or a 30-minute session just around that area. So give that a comment, please. It's our way to make better webinars, better sessions, trainings, or whatever it is. With that being said, again, thank you so much, guys. Have a great day. Take care and bye from now.
Thank you.
Hi, Ganesh. Sorry, we lost you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.